Hey, I'm Butterfly.
Hey, I'm Firefly.
Have you ever wondered if we aren't being told the truth about everything?
What have we been lied to about? Join us as we have conversations and ask questions about everything. We invite you to keep an open mind and consider the unfathomable.
Let's break the chains that enslave our minds. Come on, let's go down the rabbit hole. Hey, Firefly, what's up?
What's up, Butterfly?
Oh my gosh. I am ready to go down another rabbit hole. Are you? Are
I
you
am
ready?
too. I am too.
Okay.
We've had some funny ones lately.
I know.
Like the one where we talked about the person getting up because they got MK Ultra activated to go hang themselves with a sweater by the doorknob. I almost couldn't keep talking. I had to stop talking.
I know. That was pretty funny. And oh, you know what? It's funny because one of my favorite episodes, it reminded me this morning when I was on my way to meet with you. I think I saw a dire wolf. I think I think I
Cloned
think
one?
I think I saw somebody walking one on a leash.
He must be part of the lab that's cloning them.
Yeah, I mean it was so cute. It was this white fluffy dog. Like it looked like one of the dire wolves.
They kind of look like huskies.
They kind of look like huskies. Yeah.
They have two different colored eyes. Sometimes they
Yeah.
have that.
I mean, it was a really cute one, and I'm like, wow, dire wolf right in my neighborhood. It was so
Well,
exciting.
we were thinking maybe that's because they're going to use dire wolves for swatting.
Yeah. I was like,
Maybe that's why.
when I drove by and I saw it, I was like, gosh, it looks really cute and like fluffy and friendly, but you know, it could be like really mean and
Well, I'm thinking they're probably going to use it for like cop activity
that
because
guy might be undercover.
yeah, like what if so what if some black guy is like wielding a machete at a cop. Well, like if the cop shoots a guy that's wielding a machete, the cop's gonna go to jail for
Oh,
life.
yeah, for sure.
And then all of Black Lives Matter are gonna go burn down Target.
Right.
So now what they're gonna do is, in order to alleviate that, is they just have dire
They're gonna have
wolves.
dire wolves go after
Dire wolves
everybody.
go arrest the black dude. So the guy's like wielding a machete, and a dire wolf just comes and
Oh
bites him.
my gosh.
But then the dire wolves could be racist. So
No.
they're going to have white
they're all
and
white,
black dire
right?
wolves. What if they notice
They're
like?
going to have to make black ones, so
But what if?
it's
But what
diverse.
what if the black dire wolves like are more prone to violence and
I
kind of get out of
know.
control,
I know.
and then it becomes like a thing, like, oh, how come you guys are using all the white dire wolves?
All the black dire wolves are attacking people.
They're like down, and like there's protests. Black dire wolves matter.
Oh my gosh.
So maybe that's what's going on with the dire wolves. But anyways,
Maybe. But I think you know that I don't know how we got on that.
well, you were talking about like when you were coming in, you saw a dire
I
wolf.
think I saw a dire
Someone
wolf.
well, now my understanding is dire wolves like aren't going to just be walked by some dude because they're huge. It would have to be a
No.
giant. Like we've talked about giants in the past, like how they probably built the pyramids by giants.
Totally.
Like they
Yeah.
would probably walk a dire wolf.
I think
A giant would probably have a dire wolf as a pet.
totally. I mean, this one that I saw was, I think, probably still a puppy because it was just like the size of a regular big dog, you know. So it was probably just like maybe like 6 months old or something.
It was an adolescent.
It was like a teenage dire wolf. I mean,
That's 30 million years old.
they've probably been working on these for a while.
It's a teenage 30 million year old dire wolf.
But the person who was walking it, oh, I think that's what made me think about it. Because we wanted to talk about the walkers
Yeah.
and how they, you know, these people that we talk about who are just kind of like zombies.
MK Ultra.
They sort of seem to like to have their 5 minutes of power.
Yes.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, totally.
I
I'm
mean-
always getting told what I can and
Yeah,
can't do by some like 20-year-old.
I've noticed that like they really love to follow like the little rules that are put in place by the cult, you know,
And they are top-down rules.
yeah, top
Right.
down, and they love to follow those little rules, and like it's like a religion to them, and then they love to then they love to
Crappy
tell
religion.
other people to follow them.
Yeah.
That's what
Oh my god.
they really love. That
You know what they love? They want COVID to come back.
oh, they do.
They are so rooting
They
for
do.
COVID
Like
because
a lot of places still have those little plexiglass things up, which I don't get. Those little plexiglass,
you know what I was thinking?
you know, in front of like the registers and stuff, but they only cover like 18 inches wide, but
Yeah.
you know.
Still, it's almost like a Cubs fan. They haven't won the World Series in a long time, but they're still rooting for them to come back.
Yeah,
They might come back and win the World Series. So
totally.
they're like, COVID might make a comeback, or they're kind of like Bill Gates and what's that guy's Dr. Hotez?
Yeah. Oh,
That guy,
he's so gross.
they're like rooting for him and Fauci. Can you guys please bring back some kind of like scare so that
Well,
we can start telling people what to do again?
yeah, I mean, they are working on
They're
something because
really,
remember
mhm.
Fauci was talking about like this new
It's gonna be
thing
another.
coming back,
It's gonna be another
respiratory
virus, and you're gonna have to watch out.
and it's going to kill like 15% of the population.
Because Fauci's like 5'1", and he looks like he has Napoleon complex. I think he's one of those people who's like the god of I like to tell people what to do.
Yeah,
He's like,
I am science.
yeah, I am science. What does that mean? I tell you what to do.
So
See, I don't want to tell people what to do.
oh my
I don't
gosh.
care.
So you know what? So he is kind of like the walker. And you know, he's like their sort of
He's the lead
God.
walker.
He's the lead walker, and he's telling everybody what to do, and then they see that and they want to follow the rules and they want to tell everybody what to do.
He's like, wow, that's interesting. So
Yeah,
so he's like one of those people like we've talked about who they're not just drinking the Kool-Aid.
they're serving it.
They're serving the Kool-Aid. Those are the people who are chosen by the cult. Like,
Yeah.
okay, see, we've talked about that. Like there's these like the cult's hidden, right?
Mhm.
You're not going to see anybody who's like actually making a decision on
No,
Fox News.
because they're all living in their castles and like
Yeah.
probably in Antarctica or somewhere, and they're
Yeah.
drinking, you know, champagne out of crystal goblets and stuff like that.
They never come out of
No.
their hiding
World.
because that's their power is being cloaked, right?
Mhm.
But then they have to like come into the real world in some way, shape, or form, and that's Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates.
Yeah,
You notice how they choose like these ugly gremlins?
I know,
I
totally.
guess because ugly gremlins are what you become when you align yourself with it.
Oh, I think so.
I think
Yeah.
like Nancy Pelosi might have
Ugly on
become
the inside and outside.
yeah, like Nancy Pelosi. I saw a picture of her because she met Kennedy and Jackie Onassis. That's how old she is.
Yeah.
She was like a teenager and met the
She's been
president.
around for a long time.
Yeah, and it was like a big deal.
And
'cause-
people keep voting for her.
and her
all
dad
these
was
years.
like some mobster in Chicago or something
Oh,
like that.
that's not a coincidence or anything.
Yeah, like so, you know, but she was beautiful.
Oh wow.
Nancy Pelosi was beautiful.
Mm.
She was beautifully big breasted. But then also she had like a pretty happy, hopeful face.
Uh-huh.
And she seemed like a normal person. She seemed like one of those girls we've talked about where they're normal and then they get kind of like turned into a zombie in college.
Mhm.
I think that happened to Nancy.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because now she's a lizard and it
Yeah.
looks really bad. Like, I understand that when someone gets to be 80, 81 years old, that they're going to look old. But I've seen beautiful women at 80, 81. If you're beautiful inside, it doesn't matter.
You know what my grandma always told me?
Hmm.
Pretty is as pretty does.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the Forrest Gump quote.
Which one?
Well, he changed it to stupid is as stupid does.
Oh, okay.
So I guess that must have been like a thing back in the
Mhm.
day.
Yeah.
But she's right.
Yeah. Pretty
It's-
is as pretty does. If you are beautiful on the inside, that's gonna show.
It
That's gonna make you a
shows.
beautiful person.
Yeah,
If
because
you're like dark and ugly on the inside, you're not gonna look very
your
pretty.
skin's going to look bad.
Yeah.
And you're going to need Ozempic
And
probably.
you're gonna have like really like high eyebrows that go all the
Yeah.
way up to your hairline.
What happened? I don't know. You know what I think they do is they surgically do that because maybe like
They lift them up.
you know what she probably got? She probably from being like doing the work of the cult for all these years, she got resting bitch face. And it was like
Yeah.
bad for her image because she's on TV a lot. So
Mhm.
they're like, we're gonna like surgically alter your RBF. She had RBF surgery.
Yeah, totally.
Because you ever notice, like, some girls have resting bitch face, and like you walk up to them, you're like, "Holy shit, she looks like she's really mad." And then you start talking to her, like, "Wow, she's really nice,"
Oh, that's interesting.
but they just like kind of look like they're pissed off, like just when they're at rest.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's what happens is they with the eyebrows, maybe they're surgically altering RBF.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But I think what we're kind of getting at is when these people align themselves with the cult, they get used by the cult.
Mhm.
And then that kind of turns them into like Skeksis, like gremlin people.
They become very evil, and
Mm,
evil is not a good look.
it's ugly.
Yeah,
It's ugly and wrinkly.
yeah.
And they also seem to like cling to power. And they always are in power.
They always want power, and I think they like really power is what drives them. Like, a lot of these people have a ton of money and they still want more. They want more power.
That's
Power
like
is
Bill Gates.
what they want.
Yeah, Bill Gates isn't like, wow, I've got billions of dollars. I'm going to go enjoy my life.
Yeah, I'm going to go up to my vacation home and
No,
just, no, he wants to like inject the world with poison
he's like
and
going to those
kill
TED
African
Talks.
babies. And
Yeah.
yeah, and what?
Like, and then, but he'll do it under the guise of, well, I'm giving back.
I'm a
I'm a
philanthropist.
philanthropist. But then, like, his wife, who kind of looks like a dude,
Yeah.
looks kind of like Robin Williams. Like, what if
Um,
he
Actually,
got
Kevin Kline.
recycled? Oh, Kevin
Kevin
Kline?
Kline. Yeah.
Because he hasn't been famous since Fish Called Wanda.
Yeah.
So now he's been recycled
Yeah.
as
As
Bill Gates' wife. That's his role now. So that sucks. I wonder if he has to go the full Monty. That would be hard. But
Oh,
anyways, I digress. I don't want to know. But
but
anyways,
he quit that job, or he got fired.
he voted off. So now Bill Gates' wife, whoever it is, if it's Kevin Kline or if it's Melinda Gates, she is
She,
she's in Antarctica.
yeah,
She's with Diddy and and Epstein.
somewhere on some island. Well, actually, I hope those people aren't on Antarctica.
Because if we could ever go there, it'd be cool.
I know,
Because they're going to ruin it.
they're going to ruin it, and I really want to go there. Like, that's a dream I have. Like, I want to go explore
What
Antarctica.
if they got killed by polar bears? That could be cool.
Yeah, there's like a ton of polar bears there. I think that's another story they tell us. Oh no, it was the
They're on the edge.
it was the penguins they don't want us to like mess with, right?
What?
That's one of the stories they tell us. They don't want us to like disrupt the penguins in Antarctica. So they have to keep people away.
Well, that's kind of like in keeping with what we're talking about. They're always keeping people away. You can't do this.
Following the little rules.
Wear your mask.
Yeah.
Get your shot.
And then all the little minions at all these little places like stores and stuff, they like to follow those little rules and then tell other people what to do.
Now it's like, hey, did you talk about that country from 1948?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to jail.
Totally.
Like
there's a lot of Karens out there.
They're always like, everybody telling me what to do, Like, I don't want to be told what to do. I don't look. I'll obey the laws, and the Constitution. I feel like is the law. Any law that's repugnant to the Constitution is not a law.
No.
So I don't need to obey that.
And I don't really understand. It's like the brown shirts that we were taught about. I don't really understand what people get out of that kind of behavior, except they're getting their 5 minutes of power. Like, so there's this local shop, this nursery, and that I like to go to once in a while. I don't really like to go there anymore, actually, because they're like nursery Nazis. But
Gnarly.
yeah, but
I would have thought they'd be laid back. You sell plants.
Totally. You sell plants, but everybody there is like super weird and nursery Nazis. And they always put out this like weekly coupon in the emails. And it's like always really chintzy, like $7 off a $77 purchase or something weird like that. Like you're not saving like a ton of money, know. But whenever I've gone there, like I'll try to open up my coupon on my phone and it like never opens. Like they have like a block or something on their bill. Like there's the service.
Almost like they know that you're saying stuff that they don't like.
They know.
And they're like, no coupon.
They're like, let's make it not easy to use. And so like, a few times I've been like, can you just, I got that coupon. Can you just like ring it? Oh no, we have to see it. We have to see it on your phone.
Yeah.
And it's like you're
jump through the hoops.
Yeah, it's like you're taking like $7 personally out of that cashier's pocket. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get that.
You know what? I think we've talked about this before too, is they're kind of like that lady in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles that goes, you're fucked. They love
to do that.
I got that yesterday. That happened yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because my mom, like I told you, my dad died and we're having a memorial and like we gotta we're gonna have a bunch of people, so we want to have pictures of my dad's life, like being played on a projector while people are eating.
Hmm.
And
That's
so
cool.
she put together like a bunch of digital pictures, and it was even like 150 pictures was like 5 minutes. So they
Yeah.
want like hours.
Oh
So
gosh.
we're like trying to find all these pictures. And so we were finding old school pictures from the 80s and from the 70s, even that we wanted to like digitize.
Yeah.
So I looked online and they have a photo scanner at Macy's. So I'm like, okay. And I saw it
Interesting.
online. So I didn't know. So I was like, oh, they got one at Macy's. Let me go over to Macy's and just walk in. Like old school, I'm just thinking, I'm going to walk into the store and buy a product.
Yeah.
So I go in and I ask the lady in the like Macy's third floor, which is like all their like, crock pots and,
Oh yeah.
they have all this like electronic stuff.
Hmm.
And so I go, do you know where I can find the photo scanner? And she goes, we don't have that. And I go, oh no, it says right there. She goes, that's probably online. So her customer service was, oh, you came all the way down to the store? No, you're no.
No, you came here to buy something.
The answer is no.
No.
It's kind of like, you know, they want you to just kind of walk away just dejected and defeated.
Yeah.
And like the end of Younger. Remember the end of that show?
Yeah.
They
It's
just
like
want
a
you.
bummer.
Yeah, that's what they want.
Yeah.
Dejected and defeated.
And bummed out.
Because what then? Then you're kind of easily MK Ultra.
Yeah. And then you're kind of in the same mental state as them. Because I think if you're one of those people that likes to do that to people, you're kind of miserable. You know what I
a
mean?
dead end in life, so you don't want anyone else to like have a straight thoroughfare.
If you want to like tell somebody they can't have the $7 coupon because they can't get their phone to work.
You know what? That's so deep because have you ever heard of the crabs like in the bucket thing?
No.
The crabs in a bucket thing is when there's a bunch of crabs in a bucket, um, they'll begin to make like a big pile and start to climb out.
Oh.
And then the one crab will start to climb out and the other ones will pull him back in. Because they don't want him to escape. But then the other ones go and climb up and they try to escape and it becomes this. So you can keep a bunch of crabs in a bucket because of their own self-defeating behaviors.
That's so weird.
And I'm wondering if like they kind of have that kind of syndrome going.
Yeah, they do.
They don't want you to break out.
Yeah.
Because that's, I think, what you're doing is you're breaking out.
Right.
You're going, okay, I'm hitting this wall. Some people hit a wall and they just go, thanks for noticing. They're like Eeyore from like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
They just kind of become bummed out and blue all the time.
Yeah.
I think that might be one of the things that walkers become.
Eeyores?
They become Eeyores.
But not as cute.
No, Eeyore's kind of cute, but Eeyore's always kind of bummed. Like, like Winnie the Pooh will say, hey, Eeyore, thanks for noticing. They become just like convinced that they don't really deserve that much in life.
Right.
And that life is just, I got a bad hand and that's just the way it goes.
So I'm not going to help anybody else.
No.
Even if it's just by like giving them a coupon that doesn't even really affect me in any way or giving them like a fourth sample of something at Sephora.
I have to suffer from this. So you better too.
You're all going to pay for my miserable self.
I'm going to keep you down. I'm going to do what I can. I like your suffering.
Yeah.
Because I suffer.
I think that's what it's all about.
I like your suffering.
I think that's what it's about. It's like somebody who's like a happy person is, it's no skin off your back to like.
I'm always kind of bummed. Even somebody who I think is kind of obnoxious, when I see that they're clearly suffering, I kind of feel bad.
Yeah.
I never could be like the afflictor of suffering.
Right.
Because I always feel bad when I see someone suffering.
I do too.
I think maybe, you know how we were talking about like a lot of the cult members are psychopaths?
Yeah.
And what's like a psychopath is like, I don't care about your suffering.
They actually like people
I like your suffering.
Yeah.
Like Bill Gates kind of looks like he's like, I like your suffering.
So do you think like a lot of walkers are psychopaths?
Yeah, well, because it's top down.
We're making a big leap here.
No, I don't think so, though. Because remember how we talked about top down and micromanaging?
Yeah.
I think the micromanagers at the ground level, the brainwashing turns them into kind of psychopaths.
There might be some small aspects of it. That reminds me of this. I read this really
like telling someone that comes all the way to Macy's to buy a photo scanner, no, you're fucked.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a psychopath. It's like that no sympathy for me at all.
Totally. I read this really good book that was called The Sociopath Next Door.
Oh yeah.
It was so good, and
Disconcerting.
it was a little disconcerting. It was nonfiction. It was not like a fictitious story. So it was basically breaking down. I think it talked about like four different types of sociopaths, but basically saying that um, they're not all like these, crazy people out there mass murdering or like, serial killers. A lot of them are just like the average person living next door to you, and
Yeah.
their sociopathic behavior could be something like what you're talking about. Like they just love to torture everybody by telling them they can't have like the fourth sample of the stuff at Sephora or
Yeah. Like you have to come back tomorrow.
sociopathic tendencies.
Like think about the DMV and what a
They're
perilous
probably all
train.
sociopaths.
Totally.
Because that means you have no empathy for other people if you're a sociopath.
Well, like I always feel like if I have to go to the DMV or deal with any kind of bureaucracy, it's kind of perilous.
You know what? I think you kind of have to be sort of sociopathic to work a job like that, because everybody who comes in is going to be like totally stressed out and bugged, and you're going to like ruin their day. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
And you like working there doing
you have
that.
to be able to tell somebody,
or the IRS.
you have to be able to tell somebody, you spent the whole morning today coming in here, waiting here, which sucked, and then coming up here, you didn't have the right documents. Now you have to go home and come back another time
Oh, you know
and do
what?
this again, and maybe then you'll be okay.
So this reminds me of a story my mom told me about. She said that this was like a long time ago, and my dad, he had an office in this big building nearby, this big like high rise building,
Yeah.
and he went to the bathroom, like the big like the hall bathroom that was shared by several different offices in the building, and I guess like these people came in that didn't know that somebody else was in the bathroom, or maybe they did and they didn't even care, but they were IRS agents that had been auditing one of the other offices, and they were cracking up and laughing. And one of the guys said to the other guy, I'm taking his car. I'm taking the guy's car home. And they totally like nailed some poor guy, and like they were gonna take his car, and they were laughing about it.
Yeah.
And they were actually enjoying it and laughing about this. I mean, that's psychopathic, sociopathic behavior.
So another epiphany.
Oh my gosh,
brewing right now.
I love it.
So they're creating all of these psychopaths. I think walkers are kind of psychopaths. I think
they're like little mini psychopaths.
They're not very
psychopaths in training.
Well, just like in The Walking Dead, like the walkers are kind of slow and dumb.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to worry about them too much. But if you get close to them, they'll bite you and turn you into a walker, right? So you got to kind of be careful of walkers. They have psychopathic behaviors. And if you get like subject to a walker, that's like when you're trying to get your fourth sample at Sephora, then you're subject to a walker. Yeah. And then the walker psychopathically says, no, you have to come back tomorrow. So that's kind of like the psychopathic behavior, but they're creating an army of psychopaths, and then think about how many new IRS agents just started. Did they
hire like 87,000 or something like that?
Like a huge number.
Yeah.
And what if like when like I can imagine the screening process for like getting that job.
There's a huge like test that they probably have to take.
And it's like, are you a walker?
Like a psychological
test. Are
test.
you a walker? Like if you were telling people you have to leave if you don't put your mask on, they're probably like, you're hired.
Yeah.
It's like, but I don't know anything about money or finance.
No, that's okay. You're hired.
You like to tell people they're fucked.
Yeah. They totally do these psychological tests in a lot of different areas. That totally reminds me of this other thing. So I have a really good friend who she's like worked in big pharma for a really long time. And her first job, she got, I think her first job in big pharma, it was like at Amgen, which is like huge pharmaceutical company.
Oh, so bad.
And she had no pharmaceutical background.
Doesn't matter.
But they hired her to be like, she was in charge of some like group that was like doing this genetic testing or something based on her psychological test and evaluation. And so she ended up working there for a long time, and she ended up doing like testing herself and stuff, even though she really didn't have the background for that. But I think what they do in these companies is they give you these tests, and they think if you're going to fit into that group, it doesn't really matter what your background is. I'm not saying that she's not a
No,
sociopath,
that
but I'm
is what your
saying like,
background is, but it's not like your work experience.
no.
It's your personality
So for
traits.
the IRS agents, those guys that were laughing about taking somebody's car,
They fit the mold.
they probably had a psychological test. They probably have this for the IRS
They
agents.
tested high on hating other people
Yeah,
and liking to see them
they
suffer.
they test high on that. There's
There's probably
sociopathic
there's probably
behaviors that,
questions because like the Tavistock Institute probably creates those like surveys.
yeah,
So when you answer those questions, like would you say that you're this type of a person or this type of a person? Those are probably cues. Like, wow, this person's a psychopath. Good, good, good.
yeah.
They can tell.
So they have these tests in these companies to determine whether or not you're going to work out in
You
this
test
job.
high in psycho.
Yeah. So for a job like an IRS agent, they want somebody who's like a psychopath. And they probably have that in that test that they have to take.
If you're gonna sit down and look somebody in the eye and tell them, "Hey, your life is ruined financially,"
And I'm driving your car home.
are you gonna
You're
go?
taking the bus.
Are you gonna go high five your bro in the bathroom when you tell them that, or are you gonna be like devastated and like
Right.
I'm gonna work with you?
Yeah.
Like, see, me personally, if I was an IRS agent and I was like talking to you and I was like, "Okay, you're kind of fucked right now," I would be like, "But here's the solutions.
Right.
Here's what we have to do."
And you wouldn't go, like, if we were the agents, we wouldn't go into the bathroom and like start laughing about it. I'd probably be crying. I'd be like, I feel so bad that now this guy is like, he's going to have to like take the
And
bus
have you
home.
noticed like people like us are
Super
like on
weird.
the outs right now
I know.
because the micromanagers are everywhere.
Micromanagement.
The micromanagers are everywhere and they're the ones who do the hiring.
Hmm.
So like when you come in to go get a job right now, they're like, "Ooh, you seem kind of compassionate." Well,
We don't want that.
yeah,
We don't
but
like that.
but I'm like, but this is a hotel. I thought we did customer service. Yeah, but really, what we want is psychopaths that are serving other psychopaths.
Yeah. Somebody who
Because
will follow all the little rules and then make other people follow the rules.
like if you go to a luxury hotel, what I think the psychopaths really love too. I was thinking about this with, you know who Leonardo DiCaprio is?
Oh, yeah. He's in the cult.
He's in the cult. So he's been awarded certain privileges that we're not, right?
Of course.
So they like that. They like when they don't have to follow rules, but you do. They
Right.
really get off on that.
Yeah.
Like I bet he like serious like during sex like reminds himself of that and like it helps him to keep going. Like he loves that. So have you ever seen Django Unchained?
I don't know if I
It's
have or not.
it's a movie about slavery or whatever,
No, I
and
never seen it.
Leo's in it.
Okay.
Leo is able to just go ahead and throw the N word out there a whole bunch of times,
Oh.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But without any ramifications. Like I saw Bill Maher throw out the N word in a joke, and he had to do like a full mea culpa, and like Ice Cube came on his show and said, "You felt like a gut punch, man."
Wow.
And I was like, dude, is that Ice Cube saying that?
That's so weird.
Ice Cube, who was like, I thought we were like giving him a platform to like espouse his gangster ideologies, and he was
That's
free
okay.
to do that.
Yeah.
And he says the N word a lot, I think,
So are you saying Leonardo DiCaprio said that in the movie?
several times.
So his character was saying
Yes.
that. Uh-huh.
So he was afforded that privilege.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's kind of a cult thing where they like to have privileges like, well, I get to take a private jet.
Right.
You live in a 15-minute city, and maybe every once in a while we'll let you out.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm Al Gore.
I have my own private
I drink
jet.
blood, and I cruise around.
Yeah.
And I also eat meat whenever I want, and probably like have kids.
Yeah.
But you do not. And we have micromanagers that make sure that you do not.
Yeah. And
So-
we have MK Ultra to make sure you don't even want those things.
We're going to MK Ultra all of that out of you. I think that's kind of it. MK Ultra is kind of like the conditioning.
You're not going to want those things, and you're going to make sure that you tell other people not to want those things too.
Another epiphany.
Oh, God.
Like that's what like shows like Younger and the blue pills. What are they doing? They're making you so that they kind of condition out of you everything that you want in your life.
Yeah.
So that you just submit to their little prison system. Because I think that's what kind of happens eventually.
Yeah.
Walkers eventually just submit to their prison system.
Yeah. They don't. It's like it's a normal thing for people to. So I was thinking, like, actually, like watching shows like that. why do people date? People date because the goal is to find somebody you want to be with, right?
Marriage and a
Yeah.
family?
Yeah. I mean,
Or otherwise, stay celibate.
yeah, the point of dating is because you want to find somebody that you want to be with. So there's a lot of dating in all of these shows, but they're pushing this idea of like not like being together and
I
not
think
getting
it's like
married, not
more
having a
about
family.
like sex as like another drug and food.
Yeah,
Sex is like just what you use somebody for.
right.
You're here for sex.
And then you're just going to move on and go to the next person.
There's nothing deeper about your relationship
But
or your bond.
yeah, but there's always like, in real life and in these characters in shows, they want to have like supposedly have some kind of connection with somebody, but then they always like ruin it and they make it so that you're not going to have that. You shouldn't have that. You should just be
And
single.
that's the conditioning. So these people are slaves
Mhm.
and they are in a prison system. And maybe that's why they're good managers because they're like, hey, you're not in the prison that I'm in. Come on, you get in here.
Yeah.
And then people like you and me go, no.
They want everybody in their miserable systems.
Yeah, because I go, no, I don't want to be in your prison.
Another thing that my grandma or maybe my mom taught me too was misery loves company. Have you ever heard that one?
Of course.
Misery loves company, and it's so true.
Miserable people don't like seeing happy people.
Miserable people want everybody else to be miserable too.
Yeah, they
so
do.
if they have to follow these stupid little rules and they like doing that and like they want to tell everybody else to do it, they want everybody else to be just as miserable as they are.
Well, you can tell they're miserable. Have you ever consumed like any of these like podcasts and seen like
not ours,
not ours, but like watch an interview with some of these people who are like in the cults, clearly in the cult, when they try to be funny. That's when you can see how miserable they are.
Yeah.
Like think about like what's that guy that used to be on the Man Show and now he's got a show. Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel.
He's not funny.
No, he's not funny because he's miserable.
Yeah.
He's miserable and he's trying really hard to be funny. Whereas happy people are kind of funny, just it kind
naturally.
kind of exudes out of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, well, he probably just has stuff written for him, and then he
used to be kind of funny.
He can't really even be funny delivering. I mean, wasn't he the one that was like, "Oh, if you don't get that cooties poke, you should just die in the hospital and not get any treatment or anything."
That's a miserable person thing to say. Whereas when he did the Man Show was a long time ago. I think it was like 20 years ago. But the Man Show, he was funny on that, and he was kind of a happy-go-lucky, kind of witless, kind of clown.
Maybe he wasn't totally in the cult yet.
I think the cult conditioning was always building up, and it's become really potent now. I kind of look at like the mid '90s as kind of like a turning point,
right?
Because what happened in the mid '90s? Like we had grunge music. Grunge music was almost like resisting to the cult.
It was
like Kurt Cobain and Chris Cornell were like really mad at the cult.
Well, didn't Chris Cornell sort of get unalived by hanging?
With like bands that he exercised with, and it was like, oh yeah, but that was like one of the side effects of the drug he was on.
That was kind of weird.
Yeah. Like maybe he got prescribed that on purpose.
Yeah. Or maybe somebody helped him. Somebody helped him do that.
Yeah, because there was like kind of weird circumstances. Like he didn't look like someone who was going to unalive himself. He had a wife and 2 kids, and you don't usually unalive yourself when you're like got a family.
Yeah.
Because even if you're really bummed out, which he didn't seem like he was, his wife was really hot and she loved him. That's not like a bummer.
No.
So why would you unalive yourself?
That's kind of weird.
Kind of weird. But the thing is that in '95, that's when like Britney Spears came on the scene. I don't know if you remember, like Rolling Stone magazine had her in a mini skirt on the cover in '95.
In her like private schoolgirl uniform.
Yeah. And it like ushered in this new era of shallow and two-dimensional and materialistic.
I did it again.
Oops, I fucked some dude again. But like she almost feels like she was made in a lab.
I think so.
You know, everything
she was
about
definitely her persona, her image was definitely created. You know
so
what I mean?
That was like '95, and then I noticed like '95 is when we went like off a cliff in
Yeah.
terms of being shallow and materialistic. And so I think that was all part of the plan. It took time, but
Yeah.
now they've created this army of walkers.
Mm-hmm.
And that all happened from crass materialism and being shallow and superficial, because that character trait allows you to align yourself with the cult. And then they might have been nice people, but they were just like, but I like the cult.
Mm-hmm.
And then they become psychopaths.
Yeah.
And then they become the people who are like, okay, now I'm in the cult and I'm miserable and you do not get to
You
be
should
free.
be miserable too.
And maybe that's like the war that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the war is, we're not going to join your cult. And they're like, you join the cult or die.
Yeah. Totally.
I think that's kind of like the impetus that I'm kind of getting
Yeah.
is join the cult or die.
Yeah. From both sides.
Yes.
The people at the top who want you to do it, and then like all the little minion followers.
Yeah.
They
like,
want you to join too. So
they
you
want me
can
to
be
die.
miserable like them.
And
you know?
Is it kind of an exaggeration to say that they want me to die? I don't know.
Yeah. And is it an exaggeration to say that they're psychopaths?
Not really.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it doesn't mean that like they're necessarily out killing people or torturing puppies, but psychopathic like little behaviors.
Well, like what's kind of like a hallmark of a psychopath, right? One of the hallmarks is you
don't have empathy for other people.
You kind of like suffering of others. Mm-hmm. You kind of like seeing it.
Yeah. So even in some small way, that is like a psychopathic, sociopathic type of tendency.
Like, is that person becoming Michael Myers? Probably not. But that's just because.
But do they enjoy telling you that you can't have your 7% coupon?
Oh my God!
At the or your fourth sample. Do they enjoy telling you those things?
Like you think you sell plants for a living, you'd think you'd be really mellow, just like even a stoner, and just like, hey, what's up? No, totally, that fern's on sale. It's all good. You're like, but I don't have my coupon, dude. It's all good. I'll give you the rate. It's all good. If I sold plants, I'd probably be like that.
Yeah,
that's because you kind of like want to get into the speed of plants. Mm-hmm. Like things grow slow. The energy of plants. But instead, they're like little micromanagers. Excuse me, you do not have your coupon. And you're like, wait, but this is pretty like $7. It's like $7.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you got to look for your $7. Even that buys a latte.
My friend went to Carl's Jr. yesterday, and I was talking to him on the phone yesterday.
You can't even buy a burger for $7 anymore.
So he's got a wife and a 2-year-old, right? Mm-hmm. And so he bought the whole family dinner, and he was like, just take a guess how much you think it was. And I go, just tell me your order. So he goes, well, we got a couple of Western bacon cheeseburger combos, and then we got like a burger for our kid. And I said, did he have fries and a soda? No. He just said, he's 2, so I guess they just gave him a burger. And I go 44, and he goes, yep.
What?
Yep.
$44 at Carl's Jr.
for that.
That's insane.
That's 2 combos and a burger. A small burger, too, like one of their little... I know.
That's crazy.
So $7...
See why I want to use my $7 coupon?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I mean...
I can't even buy a burger for that.
Plus, these days, like you said, you have micromanagers kind of managing your access to earning money now.
Yeah. Like
if you want to go get a job, they're just like, oh, well, we're going to need you to take this small personality test. It's like, well, dude, I just want to bag groceries at the store. We have a personality test. Like maybe you have to be kind of a psychopath to bag groceries now.
Probably.
Yeah. Because otherwise you might have a conversation with somebody that's kind of like not cult friendly at the check stand.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, we have to talk about your conversations at the check stand. You need to not talk to people. Because have you noticed, like, there's not really, like, when I worked at a check stand, I worked at a Safeway back in 95.
Oh, my gosh. At the turning point.
Yeah, at the turning point. And remember I told you, oh, my God, epiphany.
Oh, gosh.
Remember I was stocking the shelves in 1995 at that Safeway?
Yeah.
And remember Cosmopolitan magazine was big?
Yeah.
And the girls were like,
loved Cosmo.
Cosmo.
Yeah.
And one Cosmo, I remember, because it was like 5 in the morning, and I was just like stalking. I was looking at the
You're like,
Cosmo.
let me just read Cosmo for a few minutes.
Well, you can't help it. They foist it on you at the check stands.
I
Have
know.
you noticed? Like,
That might have been the beginning of like the pushing of debauchery because
yeah,
Cosmopolitan was pretty racy back in the
it
day.
was cult,
Yeah.
and it was foisted on you. Like you couldn't
Yeah.
get away from it because like you had to wait for like two people to do their transactions,
And
and
every
so
girl
you're
on the
sitting there
cover
and you're
was
just
like,
looking.
every girl had like the super low cut shirt and the,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'd be like, oh, but then one of them, I remember it said, um, why it pays to be a bitch.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the cult programming
Mhm.
back then.
Yeah.
And it was like, be a bitch.
So that's what they're actually pushing on all of these walkers too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It pays to be a
It pays
bitch.
to be a bitch. You should be a
That's
bitch.
and what's a
You're
bitch?
going to get
Bitches
ahead if you're a bitch.
bitches are kind of psychopaths.
They are.
They're like
Because they like to be mean to other people.
they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they are they're total sociopaths.
So I think and
Yeah.
that's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
Like and the other thing, do we have time to talk about one more thing or do we have to go?
I think we could talk about one more thing.
Let's talk about one more thing.
Okay.
Because what also happened in '95? The Real World with Puck. Remember on MTV?
Oh yeah.
MTV suddenly was like, we're because, dude, back in
Was that the
'94 and
first
'93,
reality show?
yes. And remember back in '94 and '93, you could watch MTV and it'd play like total music
Music all the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
And the music was awesome.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like you turned on to like no music videos. We got this reality show.
Yeah.
And I remember I was really bummed about that. And I was like, dude, MTV sucks now.
Yeah.
We started calling it Empty V because it's like empty now, you know? And I'm wondering if the reality show was kind of part of the psychopath conditioning because what's the premise of a reality show? You get voted off if you don't jump through the hoops.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually like real materialistic and superficial.
Totally.
And it's like, well, I don't really like Kevin because, well, he was kind of hanging out by himself when we were all gathered by the fire, you
Oh
know?
my
And they'll
gosh.
vote people
Yeah.
off for all these weird reasons.
Yeah. That was like the precursor to like what's happening so that was probably social
And remember
engineering
Pedro?
happening.
Pedro was like, I got AIDS and I'm Latino. And it was like, oh, well, don't be mean to Pedro,
Yeah.
you know? And Pedro's a little gay, like Latino dude, you
Mhm.
know? And it was like teaching us, you know, like
It was driving our
it
behavior.
was teaching you, hey, you have to stay on the island.
Hmm.
Don't get out of line, otherwise you're going to get voted off. Like in that reality show, The Real World, you would get kicked out of the house.
Yeah.
Remember they kicked Puck out.
Yeah.
Puck, you can't live here anymore. What is that? You can't live here anymore is like canceled.
Yeah.
It was like planting the seed for we're going to have cancel culture in the future. And when you say stuff that we don't like, so when you get kicked out of the house, it's kind of like you're unalived now.
Oh my gosh, you just hit the nail on the head. That was programming us for cancel culture.
Yeah.
Totally.
You get voted off.
Yeah.
And
If
when
you say something we don't like.
I got voted off a long time ago, and now I'm naked and afraid. But that's okay because I'm not playing the game. And I'm so glad because I look at the walkers and I'm like, ooh, like sometimes I get like I get the chills down my back and I just go, thank God I'm not a walker.
I know.
Because that would suck.
Well, I mean, like you would be miserable and you wouldn't know it sucked because you would just be in your miserable existence. But
like, has a walker ever said anything that like made you laugh really hard?
oh yeah.
They have? Oh, but okay.
Like because it's so maybe not like because
no, but
it's
they're
funny,
not telling
but
you a joke.
no, it's just
You're,
like
you're
so
laughing
ridiculous.
at them.
Yeah.
No, but have you ever laughed with a walker? Let me say it that way. Like they told you a funny joke or a funny story, and you're like, "What?
No, I don't think
Not
so.
really.
No.
They don't really have funny, kind of
No.
exciting lives. Their
No.
lives are always kind of mundane. So what I notice is a lot of walkers kind of keep their conversations to like their lifestyle and their financial wherewithal.
Mm-hmm.
And their conversations are always like, well, we went to Barbados and oh my God, we saw the snorkeling and it's so nice. And you know, and so they're always kind of name dropping. Oh my God, and Will Smith was there. We saw him at the bar and he said hi. And it's like, that's kind of like the Walker's like dialogue.
Right.
You
It's
know,
very shallow.
it's shallow and it's
Super
like
shallow.
not really interesting. Like, I don't care, like when I
Yeah.
talk about something in Barbados, like maybe something funny happened. Like, oh yeah, I stepped in dog shit. Like right when we were walking into the restaurant, it was really bad. And like people had to leave. That'd be like a funny story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
But
like,
no, but that's a good point. Topics have to be very surface with walkers. They're very shallow surface. You can't get really deep.
no.
Like I that's why I don't think a lot of walkers are probably listening to us.
Well,
You know what I mean?
like we were talking about, you know how in a previous episode we talked about how like say you hook up with somebody and then all of a sudden in the middle of the night they just get up and like start hanging themselves with a scarf from a doorknob. That's why walkers
And you spot the behavior
you go,
immediately.
no,
Well,
let me turn this
sure.
off.
Okay, we'll
And you like turn off their like Facebook really quick, and then all of a sudden, like once the beacon shuts down, they like go, "What am I doing?" Well, I think that's how it is when you're dealing with walkers.
try.
Like when they hear when they hear our show, they're gonna be like, "Oh my god," and get triggered, and
Yeah.
like probably like go. They might even get violent. What if we? Whoa! What if we cause them to short circuit?
I think there might be some tantrums.
That could be cool.
There might be a lot of tantrums. But you know what?
Like what? Remember in Austin Powers when the fembots
Yeah, yeah.
they had boobs with guns, and remember his mojo was so sexually attractive to them that they overloaded.
Yeah.
What if our mojo is so good
I know.
that it causes like
Short.
they short and they like
Yeah. But you know what? Maybe like some of them will hear some of these topics and wake up,
well, that's all we're hoping,
you know.
and I do believe that.
Yeah.
I think that
We got to get a few of the walkers on board with reality.
well, there's probably some people. Oh my God, there's a lady wearing a mask. That we got to talk
That's a
about
walker.
You know what? I want to do an episode on mask wearing
Okay.
because I think that's a very specific walker behavior.
That's like a walker like 2.0.
That's like boss level. You've gone like if you're
We're not getting through to that one.
If you're playing Mario Brothers, like they've gone like several levels ahead of you. Like remember Miss Pac-Man where it was like you had the strawberry and then it would change and like now you're on the apple.
You're like, oh my God, the whole thing just changed.
She's like at the apple and the pretzel.
Yeah.
Like we're still on the strawberry, and she's like deep.
I don't think we're getting through to that one.
No. Well, like we're not even playing Miss Pac-Man. She's like 4 or 5 levels in, like wearing a like. Why? I saw somebody else wearing a mask.
I saw somebody. Where was I? Oh my gosh. Was it yesterday or today? I can't remember. But this guy, it was another one of those ones where he had it all the way down like to his chin. I'm like, and he was with somebody.
That's walker behavior to the next level.
And he was with somebody who wasn't wearing one. And so I'm like, okay, you don't get this. Like sometimes I'll see a family and like one of the people or two of the people are wearing like the mask, but some of the others aren't. I'm like, if you're going to do it, you got to go all in, right?
Oh my God. I know where I saw another walker. I saw another walker wearing a mask. So remember I told you my daughter did a Broadway play?
Mm-hmm.
One of the like stagehands came out to remove something and was wearing a mask.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like one of the kids.
That's
and I was going,
weird.
You know what if the mask has become kind of like an identity thing?
Yeah.
Like it's not about a disease anymore.
No.
It's about an identity.
Well, yeah, like this. So this guy I saw with it down to his chin, and he's with a lady that wasn't wearing one. What's the point of that? Obviously, she wasn't into it. It's not about a disease. She wasn't into it, and he wasn't really into it either. But he had it on halfway. So
you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Team America.
It's an accessory.
It's part of their identity. Like, remember, because the mask is not about a disease.
No.
Did you ever see Team America?
No.
You never saw that movie?
No.
Oh, it's good research.
Okay.
So it's done by the guys who do South Park.
Oh,
and they make these little figurines. And it's about America. Fuck yeah. Coming in, we're like the tough guys and we're kicking ass. And we go into the Middle East, right? But then, so there's this one big CIA guy and he's in the limo and he's talking to like the little soldier kind of MK Ultra guy. And he's going, it's not about sex, Eric. Now suck my dick.
Oh, God.
And I think that's what the masks are like, The masks are like, it's not about a disease.
No.
It's about like an identity that says, I comply.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hat that says I will not comply.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm gonna start wearing that because it's not about COVID anymore.
Mm-mm.
It's about complying. I think that's kind of where we're
Right.
at.
But if you're only wearing it part way, are you really complying?
Yeah, because
You
it's the
still have the
symbol.
accessory.
You have the accessory, the
It's the
symbol.
symbol.
It's giving out like, it's like wearing a Dodgers hat and saying, "Oh, Dodgers fan." You
Right.
know, like at least you're saying
Well, yeah, you're because during the cooties fiasco when like most people were wearing masks and then you'd see somebody who didn't, you were like, yeah, they're like a cool one.
so
And
much.
so now when you see somebody that's wearing one, they're like telling the world, I am in the cult. I
Mhm.
follow the cult rules.
And I bet you
Yeah.
some people are going, "Oh, I'm with you."
Yeah.
Like, oh, like I'm wearing my mask too.
Yeah.
What I totally had that moment where I was in Trader Joe's one time during the height of the cooties. And I walked in and there was another dude not wearing a mask. And we immediately made eye contact and just kind of like,
Yeah. I had some of those
I'm
too.
with you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's like my brother
Yeah.
camaraderie.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to take much, but maybe it's like that's the flip side of it now, the
Yeah.
mask. So we
Yeah.
should talk about the mask
Okay.
another time.
We'll get into that on another
But
episode.
you know what? I think today was awesome
I think so
because
too.
what was
5 minutes of power.
the 5 minutes of power? Because I think that's kind of like a what we kind of deduced is maybe the walkers are psychopaths.
Totally.
And maybe that's the whole
And they want
agenda.
their 5 minutes of power. It makes
So
them feel good to like
so
tell
what is the
somebody some
MK
rule.
Ultra? The MK Ultra mission is to turn people into psychopaths. Like
Yeah.
compliant psychopaths.
Yes. So they'll carry out the orders of them. See how it trickles down from the top?
Yeah.
Somebody at the top is like making the plan, and then they've got their puppets like Fauci and Gates and all these people like telling people what to do.
Because you
And
have
it
to turn
trickles
off
down.
your empathy in
Yeah.
order to be
And
part of the
turn
cult.
off your, critical thinking skills,
That too.
you know,
Yeah.
common sense. Turn
You have
off
to
all your
say,
common sense.
is this mask keeping me safe? No.
Is this piece of plexiglass like right here that's
Yeah.
only like 18 inches wide going to keep me safe?
Should we be sending $200 billion to Ukraine?
Hmm.
That seems weird. That seems like a lot of money.
They don't want people asking questions.
No.
They just want people following the rules.
And kind of being psychopaths.
Yeah.
And being happy to tell you, hey, you follow the rules or you gotta leave. You don't get your sample from Sephora today. You gotta come back.
Come back in an hour when I'm not
Which
here.
sucks.
Yeah.
Which sucks because you gotta find parking.
I know.
And you gotta like make another trip over there. And it's never fun.
And it's not like I'm just gonna like get like 20 samples of the same product and never have to buy anything. You know what I mean? Like
No.
I was asking for samples of like different things, to try to compare them.
Right.
It's obvious I'm like trying to figure out which one I'm gonna
You're
purchase.
probably gonna
I'm gonna
purchase
purchase
something. You're not just getting samples like, I'm gonna go on a date right now. I just want to use your products.
I want 8 samples of this bottle of stuff.
Just for the hell of it. And like, is that person like? So here's another irrational behavior. Are they saving Sephora money? Is that what they're doing?
Exactly.
Sephora, this big huge corporation. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, but I saved you guys a few cents.
I didn't squirt out an 8th sample to this person.
Yeah, somebody did that to me recently, and I was like, oh, are you saving the? Oh, it was another Starbucks visit where that same Starbucks I went in to get a cup of ice. And the guy was like, we don't give cups to ice anymore. And I was like, oh, so what, you're saving Starbucks money that way? I mean, were you guys really like, that was impacting Starbucks' bottom line?
Yeah. That cup with the ice.
Yeah. So, it's like you said, it's not only psychopathic, it's kind of like you have to turn off your reason.
Well,
empathy and reason are good.
It's for that brief moment, that person has a little bit of power over you.
And they love that.
They love it.
And maybe that's their only thing that they live for.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be what's going on.
Yeah.
Because they seem like they relish
They get those little moments of power and they enjoy it.
Like that dude at 31 Flavors.
You know what? Oh my gosh. So that's what makes it possible for all of these evil plans to be carried out. Because when you have these kind of people that just enjoy those little moments of power, they enjoy like being the brown coats and the
Yeah.
people that will like push these ideas,
That was in
snitch
1984.
snitch on their neighbors.
Remember in 1984, the little girl,
Yeah.
and she like is watching him really closely because he
Yeah.
did like just a little thing that wasn't cool,
Yeah,
and she was like
and they'll tattle
immediately
on people.
they
And so
want that.
this is how the head cult people get these orders carried out. They get these little minions to follow them and then like snitch on the people that aren't following the
And
rules.
what's kind of their incentive? I think they get kind of like rewards, like
Mhm.
financial rewards, and like they get promoted for doing that. Like you
For
did
being a good
good.
little walker.
You were a good walker, so you get to be a supervisor over other walkers now.
Yeah, more power.
You get to
You
like.
might get 15 minutes of power in a day instead of 5.
So what happens? It's a graduation. You
Yeah.
start drinking the Kool-Aid, but then you start serving the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
That's how you get moved up.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the same with the Catholic Church. You got to
Totally.
move up in the church by just being in the cult
Yeah.
and saying, "Yeah, homosexuality is fine," and they go, "You just became a bishop."
Well, that was an interesting topic.
That was really good.
Yeah,
I'm so stoked on our episode today.
I am too.
I knew we were going to have a good one because I was fired up. All right. I'll talk to you
See you
soon.
later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.